Have you ever been on this stage?
No, I haven't. I've never been on this stage.
Would you like to be?
Wow, you're not going to catch me like that.
Do you remember when we met?
For London Road?
No, first time ever.
No, I thought it was London Road. This is awkward.
No, it wasn't. It was the London Film Festival. And yeah, I had a film called Broken that was in the festival. And it was in the bit after the awards ceremony.
Because I loved that film.
And you were on the jury and you came bounding up and said
That was my, yeah.
that you really loved the film.
Yeah.
And I was so starstruck, I couldn't say anything. It was like, Olivia Colman like my film.
Oh.
Great.
I did absolutely genuinely love it.
But that's you, isn't it? It's the gesture of just bounding up and to somebody you don't know and make them feel brilliant.
Oh, thanks.
So we're supposed to talk about
yes, early life.
Early
Start
life.
at the beginning.
Yes. What was your first time on stage, Olivia Colman?
First ever was a nativity play, and I think apparently I don't remember it. I do a little bit, but I punched the angel next to me. She said my line.
Did she?
Yeah, she did.
Fair play.
It's understandable, isn't it?
I think it's understandable. Somebody takes your line.
Stick to your own lines.
Yeah. How old are you?
4. What about you?
Well,
'Cause you started acting, didn't you? What was your first time on stage?
I played a chicken in, I did, in Noah's Flood. And I remember I had to go on stage and I got my cue wrong.
Oh no.
So I went too early. So there was this big thing going on and singing and then this little chicken. And I remember starting and thinking, I'm just going to keep going. I realised I'd made a mistake.
Very professional of you.
Wrong but strong. Keep going. So I just strode on, sat down on
Next
my
to
own.
the fox.
Yes.
Ruined the story.
All went wrong after that. Yeah. My mum was probably playing in the orchestra for it.
Oh really?
Yeah. Which is why I was there. I think she'd corralled me in from that point of view.
So sort of an arty musical background?
Not so much arty, but lots of music. Yeah, loads of music.
Oh yes, you're one of how many?
6.
All
Great.
play instruments.
All play instruments.
It's like the Von Trapps.
I know, it is a bit.
Sang rather than play.
Yes. Have you got any siblings?
Yes.
Are they in the arts?
No. No, my brother is a teacher and my sister is a psychotherapist. She was very good on the piano though. My brother, not so much.
What about you? Do you play anything?
I can do, I know 4 chords on the guitar.
Can you sing?
No.
What you mean is
You know
yes,
that,
but you're not going.
I'm all right. I can hold a tune, but I'm aware of what good singers can do.
I know, they're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah.
It is humbling. So, an angel, and then where did it go? Where did it go from there? When did you kind of, was there a moment where you did something that made you think, yeah, this is for me?
Yeah. So at 16, I did my first proper non-nativity school play, and I really enjoyed it. Also, I suddenly found it easy to put the work in because I loved it. So any other subject at school was, I got to do an exam. But suddenly I had to learn reams of script, and I spent every waking hour learning it. And then suddenly I felt like I could actually, I really enjoyed it. And I liked it when people clapped. Because I'd never been very good at anything. No one ever went, well done. They'd go, oh, could try harder. And then I didn't realise you could sort of go and be an actor. So I just couldn't work out how I just want to do more of that. That was amazing.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's actually trying to find, I think that's one of the most important things in life is finding the work which doesn't feel like work.
Exactly. Find what you love. Mates of mine who I was at school with, I know that a lot of them don't like the jobs they do. They do it because it's a means to an end and they're lucky to be working, but I love what I do, and that's, they go, you're so lucky. I know I am, yeah. What about you? Did you started off training?
So it was music a lot, through school and stuff. And
What's your instrument, by the way? I didn't ask that.
It was violin when I was a kid and piano, and then I started playing in bands and stuff. So I can play 6 chords on the guitar. Yeah. and I formed a little a cappella band and that kind of stuff. But actually, it was I was in a youth orchestra, and there was somebody in the youth orchestra that I liked, and she was in a youth theatre. So I went to see the show that she was in, which was the Swan Theatre in Worcester, and then I asked somebody, how do you join that youth theatre? And they said, go and ask him, the guy on box office.
Because you were blown away by theatre, or because you still fancied the girl that was in the theatre?
It was
That's hilarious.
a combo. But I felt shy, because I'm quite a shy person, and I didn't want to go on my own. So I took my best mate at the time, and he got off with a girl.
No!
Yeah.
Do you remember his name?
Oh, yeah.
Have
yeah.
you ever looked him up, see how he's doing?
Yeah, no, we then had years together doing loads of stuff in the youth theatre, and that was the sort of beginning of it. I can't remember the first play I ever saw, but it probably would have been a musical that my mum was playing in the pit for.
And then that was it, just the seed was sown.
Yeah, I think there's something about that sense of belonging. I think lots of people who are in theatre want to be. I mean, we're a bunch of misfits, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it feels like a family. And
Yeah.
there's something about the kind of that cycle, that slightly stressful but exciting cycle of endeavour that is making a show or making a film or whatever, that you really, really come together and trust each other, and then just when you're getting bored of each other, you can get by.
Yeah, exactly right. And what you mentioned about being shy as well, and lots of actor mates are quite shy, and that's why it's nice to be someone else.
Yeah. So after school, what did you didn't go straight drama school, did
After
you?
school, no. Then, because I still wasn't entirely sure how to do it, or if I was allowed to do it, and so then I went off to teacher training college. So there's a generation of children who've had a very lucky escape.
Yeah.
I would have been the shittest teacher. And homeschooling this last year has, it's proved that I was right. I am not bad at it. And I just joined lots of theatre groups and realised I know it's definitely what I want to do. I just auditioned for everything, cycled around the place, and did a play with a boy that I fancied, and that worked out quite well because he's now my husband. And it's not funny to use the word stalker, but I sort of stalked him, which I don't condone.
I know, though it does seem to have worked.
It did in our
Yeah.
case.
And
And I do remind him every day he's a very lucky man.
And how far did the stalking go?
Oh, well, it was 6 weeks I memorised his timetable. I took 3 hours to get dressed every day. I found out what music he liked and learnt the lyrics.
Wow,
I know.
that's commitment.
I know. More commitment than I've ever shown in any acting job.
Was he aware that he was?
Just sounds awful.
Was he aware that this endeavour was going on?
Very slow for a bright boy.
Yeah.
And eventually I just had to tell his friend, you tell him I love him. And his friend did.
And then he went to the same drama school as well, didn't he?
Yes, so he was doing law, but he didn't want to do law. And I said, run up with me, we'll join the circus and or be an actor. And he went, yeah, that's what he wanted to do. So he got into Bristol Old Vic, and I decided, I'd done a typing course. I said, I'll come with you to Bristol and I'll support you by typing. And then once he was at drama school, and all the lovely people he met, and they'd all come back, we'd all have pasta together, and they'd do their speeches and give each other notes. And I went, I know, sounds now horrendous, but it was really fun.
No, just think about you having to type in the corner.
Yeah.
And, when they're... Were you any good at typing?
I have to say I'm really rather good at it.
Are you?
It's still pathetic, but if no one's in the room with me, I'll go, what? Just because I can't type without looking. Anyway, so I wanted to be part of this thing, and so the next year I applied and I got in, so we were there together.
Oh, brilliant.
We overlapped for a year.
So I went to drama school as well. I went to RADA.
So that's the posh one, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. I tried for 4 years though. It took me a long time. I auditioned
you?
everywhere. I didn't get into Bristol, didn't get into all the rest of them. And I think at RADA they just...
God, I can't bear to see him for a fifth year. Let's
Not
just
again. Just let him in. Yeah.
How thrilled were you when you got that letter?
Yeah, just sort of relieved, really.
Yeah.
I think it's also about, I was thrilled to phone up my dad.
Oh,
I'd say, I'm not a total loser.
oh, Rufus.
So that was, yeah. So that was great. I didn't ever really want to be an actor, but I did want that as a training. There's something about knowing, you know, a lot of my mates had gone off to university, and they'd gone, yeah, it's great, we don't do any work, you know. And look, I know, you know, my kids have now gone through that or are in the middle of it, and they work very hard. But at the time, I just thought, I know I'm just going to slack. I need deadlines, I need pressure. And then I can work, and I just thought, if I'm at drama school where you get kicked out if you don't turn up at 9 o'clock in the morning and you don't leave till 11 at night, that would be great. And I'm really glad I did that.
That's an amazing thing to do as a young'un, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's weird to have a combination of a really, I mean, not very healthy, but very deep-rooted work ethic,
Yeah.
and also be profoundly lazy in my natural state.
I think we were the same person, aren't we? Yeah. I found from drama school the best thing was a work ethic. And they said on the first day, I think, if you can do anything else, do the other thing, because chances are you won't work. So many people want this, and you know, oh right, oh God, yeah, got to, you know, take it seriously and appreciate what you've got. And that was, I think, the best thing I got from drama school.
And how did it go when you left? Did you hit your stride quickly? Or?
No. What was lovely is I got to the agent of my dreams when I left, who I'm still with, and one of us is going to have to die before we part company. There's no way I'm leaving. Having that's like a sort of marriage, and having that support is amazing. But she put me up for 100 auditions my first year. Didn't get a single one. I just kept thinking, oh, she's going to dump me. I think something happened. I don't know. I was going, oh, well, I'm not going to get it. And then I started to get them.
Maybe it's to do with that, though, isn't it? It is funny. It's really horrible that.
You sat on that side of auditioning people, so can you?
I don't know. When somebody comes in, I mean, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because so often actors are brilliant in audition, but they're just not right for the role because of what you've got in mind, or what the writer's got in mind, or because they've got to be the sister or the father of this other character who's already cast, or, you know,
Yeah.
all of those, you know, you're always trying to put a community together. But there is something about when somebody comes in the room, you go, do I want to spend 8 weeks in a room with you? And
Yeah.
often if people are a bit more relaxed.
You're absolutely right there, but you do want to make a happy family, don't you?
Yeah.
That's when a successful job happens. When
I think so. I mean, you know, people talk about conflict being good for the art. I think that's a load of crap.
So do I. Absolutely.
No, you know, you need to be vulnerable with what we do in these rooms. You've got to be able to. One of my favourite colleagues, lighting designer Paulie Constable, always says it's guss it out time. In other words,
Guss it out.
Guss it out. in other words, we're about to be ritually humiliated, and that's
Great
part
phrase.
of it, because that's when the little gorgeous bits.
Yeah.
sort of
Also, and
emerge.
to feel enormous trust. So you can go anywhere with whatever you need to do if you trust everybody.
Yeah.
And if someone's trying to break you down or something, then
No thanks.
no,
I don't. Yeah.
I don't agree with all that.
Is there anybody that has been a real inspiration for you, or, you know, a shining light, or just a sort of?
For me, it's quite an easy one to answer because Paddy Considine gave me I think changed the course of my career by letting me do Tyrannosaur. People really liked it, and people still do find it occasionally and love that film, and it's always going to be, I think, my favourite thing I've done. That maybe was the moment when I went, this is what I really love doing. So that's quite an easy one for me to answer. But I imagine for you it's a much harder thing.
You know, it's just the best possible thing about this job is the people that I get to work with and get to watch here. You know, I have to say Stephen Daldry was a really important one for me.
Yeah.
I assisted him a lot at the Royal Court, and there was something about watching his responsiveness in the room, which I really valued, but also the way he'd be working on something and he'd go, how am I going to do this?
Oh, how nice.
And he might have not asked me anything for 4 days.
Yeah.
And the first time I was like, I was thinking about getting laid. You know, and he was like, okay. And so the next time I was ready, and it just and it meant that I was always ready.
Yeah.
With an idea. And assistant directing can be really boring.
But he,
Because
Let you in.
because he takes idea, he doesn't care where the idea comes from at all.
Yeah.
Completely egoless about where you get the idea from.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you go, how am I going to do this? And I go, like that. And you go, no, something else. Like that. No, something else. Like that. What do you mean? This. You go, okay, and then do something else. But it just sparked something.
Yeah.
So there's something about that example of sort of not letting your own ego get in the way.
Yeah.
Just because you're the director doesn't mean, it really taught me that you kind of, your job as a director is to make decisions
yeah,
that don't have to be your idea.
yeah,
You know, so you go, I'm going to make a decision so the actor feels held and they know what they're going to do. But if I go, right, this is my decision, and somebody else, and it can be the assistant director, it can be one of the actors, it can be the stage manager, goes, well, that's a crap idea, this is a better idea. You can go, right, I'm making a fresh decision, and it's what that person said. I'm still in control of the room.
and how liberating.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
It's just your worries about, oh, the director goes away, because it's just about what's happening, and that's the
yeah. Ego is a great big trip up, isn't it, in almost every part of what we do.
Where does it get in the way for you? Self-consciousness or imposter syndrome? Is that ringing any bells?
Yes. Yeah, I quite regularly feel that less so, I think, on set as I think I'm getting better at picking a job because I just needed work, and so you do some jobs which you just knew you probably weren't the best person for, or somebody else could do better, and that feeling of "Oh, I'm going to be found out is quite common. But I'm slightly better now at going, I know I won't do that very well, so I really shouldn't say yes to that job. It sort of diminishes the imposter syndrome a bit, but I still feel it in almost every job.
And does it actively get in the way when you're...
It can do, but you know, sort of, so then you go, okay, I know that I didn't do that well. Can we have another go? And to try and constantly get rid of it. So what was your first directing thing?
I was involved in a fringe theatre, and I did a play. I'd been asked to join the Fringe Theatre because I knew about building, because I worked in the building trade for a while before I went to drama school, all those years that I tried to get in.
Wow.
And so I was invited to come in to help build this theatre, put up walls and stuff. And that was a brilliant, you know, real family in a basement in Paddington, run by an amazing guy called Brian Asprey, who very sadly passed away right at the beginning of lockdown, actually, which is one of those tragedies of not, you know, there hasn't been a moment to mark that, which must be true for, you know, well, it is true, I'm sure, hundreds of thousands of people. We've all been to those Zoom funerals, haven't we, during this time? It's been really the worst of it. But that was an incredible thing that he did, and he directed one of the first shows, and I was in it, and I got crucified naked in it, actually.
Oh.
And yeah, I know.
Oh no.
There is no record, I'm glad to say, but it was not.
I mean, you can't.
No, you can't. That's the thing.
Look up here, look at here. Look
Yeah. I'm really charismatic in the eyes.
Oh no.
But the play wasn't very good either, I'll say. And I kept cutting bits because it was really long, trying to do it without anybody realising. And afterwards, the director said, well, what happened is I went to see a friend of mine, one of the friends who was in the show at Finborough, and she had a play that she'd written, and she gave it to me to deliver to my partner, and I read it on the tube, and I got off the tube and finished it, and it was fantastic. I took it into the Arts Threshold, and Brian Aspie, the guy who was running it, said, you know, you're really not an actor. You're not focused enough on what you're doing. You're always thinking about the bigger picture, and I think you should direct it. And that was it.
Wow. If he hadn't said that, do you think you'd have got there eventually, or would have taken ages?
I've no idea, because at the time I was, I had actually just recently applied for a job to go and work in Tigray in Africa for an aid organisation. So I was trying to get out of the business.
Oh really?
Yeah. What's your relationship with theatre like these days? Now you've disappeared off into kind of...
I, as you know, started in theatre, love it. Nothing better than watching something live with others. I mean, when that's good, there's nothing to touch it. It's heaven. But being on stage, I've developed a massive fear. as you know, when we did mosquitoes.
You said a really brilliant thing to me once. Early on, you said, before we start rehearsing, you said, there's one thing you've got to know about me. Sorry, I'm going to shame you now.
I remember this.
It goes like this: scared, 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 bored. And it was just a great, so look after me when I'm scared and keep it fresh when I'm bored.
Kick me when I'm bored.
Yeah. And I think that's probably not too uncommon.
Yeah.
But is that stage fright never got better for you?
No. And I worry, though, that as getting older and slightly more recognisable, the fear, you know, that, I don't know, that all of these people will watch when you fuck it up and, she did it wrong. Or went to see that person that we've seen on the telly.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
good on stage. You know, that's sort of I think I've built it up to.
But you were sublime in Mosquitoes. You were
have to
great.
say that.
No, but you were. I mean, it was totally joyful.
I did love it, but I need to get over that. I went for hypnotherapy with your lovely man here, Christian, in the theatre, to try and come up with some tools to stop being quite so petrified.
And how's that manifest? You've just get rigid, or do you forget your lines, or
That
knee
moment
yourself,
just
or what?
before, you know, just before the lights go down, saying, I fucking hate this job. I hate myself. I'm going to vomit or I'm going to wee. And then suddenly you're on stage and then I can't remember it. And then it comes out. It's an awful
Has
feeling.
it ever not come out?
Yeah, and also I get terrible giggles.
I know, I have noticed that.
I'm going to tell you a story which is out in the public domain. My dear friend David Mitchell put it in his book of when I wet myself on stage from laughing. And it's his fault. And yes, and that is also a fear in the back of my head, that I could laugh so much I will pee myself on stage. But I did do it once. On a raked stage, my entire bladder emptied and it just went towards the audience in the front row.
Really?
Made it worse. I could
And
not
were
stop.
they all aware of it?
Yeah. That's moving away from little bits of wee.
They'd be collecting it now and selling it on eBay.
Ugh.
No. Yeah, no, I've never wet myself on stage, but I've dried really, really terribly.
What's awful, because so the other actor is, and it looks like it's their fault rather than yours,
Yeah.
so they come up with a word to rescue you. Looks like
That,
theirs one.
that really is a skill, to make it look like it's the other person.
Yeah, to look to yours.
I was sick once because I dried so badly, and I just couldn't remember the lines, and you can't improvise when you're in verse. And I repeated and kind of clunked around, and then somebody helped me out, and but it was really awful. And I went off stage, and I threw up.
Yeah, drying is a horrible, horrible thing.
It's really horrible, isn't it? I think that actually was a moment where I went, this really isn't going to work.
Not for
I've
you.
got to do something else. What's your favourite ever experience on stage?
Of me being on stage?
Yeah,
Ooh.
the angel.
Yeah, punching the angel. Wasn't a punch, it was enough. But there were moments in Mosquitoes I really loved because it was a smaller audience. In the odd moment when I forgot how scared I was. The first time I ever stood out on the Olivier stage was sort of gut melting. But it's so big. And also a dream come true, you know.
What was that?
That was England People Very Nice. I'd always wanted to work at the National since I was tiny, since we first drove over that bridge and saw the names of plays going across. And, oh, one day I'm going to be there. And yeah, that was cool. Do you have a pinch me moment?
Yeah, there's been a few. I've been lucky. In Ealing, I lived in Ealing for a while, and there's Ealing Common, and I walked across from Ealing Common to go to where I lived. And one night, I just finished. It'd been the last night of a little opera that was going on with the Ian Bayliss programme, and it was the last night. And for the first time in quite a long time, and I was scrabbling around freelance, as I had been doing for a lot of years, and I had nothing. There was nothing going on, and I sat down on Ealing Common, 2 o'clock in the morning, a bit drunk, and a bit in the summer, and just thought, okay, the slate is clean, and that's depressing to have got to the age of 30, whatever, and nobody wants me to work. But also, it's a, you know, maybe this is a turning point. Maybe I need to start thinking about something else, and then I walked home, and my partner was still up, and she was like, "Oh God, where have you been? You know." I was like, "Hi." And she said, "You've got to read this before tomorrow morning. Ian Rickson from the Royal Court's going to call you." And it was a play called Under the Blue Sky by David Eldridge, which is a completely beautiful play. The beginning of a really lovely working relationship with David, and my relationship with an ongoing step in my relationship with the Royal Court, which became, it was the first time somebody had kind of gone, this is a kind of mainstream gig.
Wow.
Here you go. And it was really interesting having had that moment on it in common, going, there's nothing. Better go home.
And straight after that.
And there was my partner going,
You sober up pretty quickly.
yeah, I mean, like, trying to read it. and then the next one was walking across the common, knowing that I was going to come here, and Nick Heitner was going to do the speech on the Olivier and say, this is the guy who's taking over. So after, you know, the final interview had been the day before, and, you know, and I immediately got and there's going to be press, and I thought, and there was just something about walking across the common and going, oh no, that's...
This is it.
Yeah, that's happened. And I started crying. It was quite tricky. It was like, God, I've got to actually get it together.
Oh.
Yeah, where are you?
I remember finding out I'd got into Bristol Old Vic, because I didn't get in first round, and then Erica, the secretary, phoned me up and said, somebody's dropped out, so you're in. Something which was, she had a way of being very, honest, and but it was, I didn't mind that someone else had dropped out. I was so thrilled, and that meant that I was going to go and join Ed there, and that was amazing. I couldn't believe that I'd got in somewhere. I'd not got into quite a few places. I wish I'd kept those letters now. I'd love to have them in the downstairs loo.
Yeah.
And another one was, I did one of my first jobs that first year out of drama school. Well, I didn't get 100 jobs, but I think maybe the second job I did get was Long Day's Journey into Night on Shaftesbury Avenue at the Lyric. And I remember we'd done rehearsals and we were going into theatre for the tech, and I came out of Trafalgar Square tube and just went, oh, I'm a fucking actor. And just, I could put it on my passport now, and that's not a lie. I'm an actor. I'm earning my living as an actor, and I'm coming to Theatreland, you know, with pigeons moving. I sort of floated into the theatre. That was amazing.
What's it like when somebody says you won an Oscar?
Yeah, that was a pretty big pinch me moment. I wish I could remember more of it. It was such a head fuck. I mean, it's sort of hard to... Ed says it's the best night of his life, because he remembers it all. He watched the person he loved doing... Can't believe it happened. When we got there, and Ed said that morning, look, I think maybe let's not get excited. You know, this isn't going to happen. This can't happen. This is... Yeah, absolutely. Let's enjoy what's happening. You know, say hello to amazing people, and try and enjoy the night. And we got there and we were put in the corner. We went, okay, well, that's another sign. We're stuck quite a long way from the stage in the corner. And I could almost cry, actually, the thought that when they said my name, just sat there for a while, didn't really register. So went quiet. And yeah, amazing. And it was only really a year later that it registered. And now the little gold man is sitting in a cupboard, because I feel a bit embarrassed that it happened. But when no one's looking, I do sort of go, and close it again.
Dance around the room with it.
Yeah.
Do you find that there's been a tipping point? Now you mentioned it earlier, it's not just, you're not just an actor doing a thing. Do you find that the public feel like they've got an ownership of you, or there's an expectation that puts pressure on what you're doing now?
I think that's added to my fear of being on stage, definitely. The expectation, the disappointment that people might feel if I don't live up to their expectation. And I find, in general, I think I'm not great at what happens now out and about, because I'm not very good with people knowing me and I don't know them. It's not equal, and it's an unfortunate downside to a job that I absolutely love, is that everyone will get to know your face.
Yeah. And were you finding that was a thing, people following you around or approaching you, or?
Yeah, and most people are really nice, but I mean, here a couple of times, someone videoed me eating lunch outside, and they think that you're not human, or I mean, they wouldn't do that to anybody. So why would I don't understand how some people don't really register that you're a normal person.
People feel like, well, I've got no grounds for complaint because you chose to do that job and you get well paid and da, da, da. But it is, yeah, it's wearying, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're kind of, well, I guess what it is, the problem is that it actually stops, if you pay any attention to it, it stops you being able to do the job because it just completely cuts your hamstrings.
Well, I sort of combat that by never looking at social media. Well, on the occasion when I have, I've regretted it. And so I try and keep myself in a safe bubble to keep loving what I do, know my people I trust, and try not to look at what other people might think.
Yeah.
And I know that's with your job as well, everyone.
There is a cruelty in it which feels disassociated from sort of the humanity that most people in their day-to-day lives wouldn't.
But I do think most people, they wouldn't say something so cruel to your face. Some sort of humanity in them realises it would be a mean thing to do and it would upset the person they're saying it to. So why do they do it in print? I was going to tell you really. Attributes that I find helpful in a director, which you have, which is handy, isn't it? It'd be awkward if...
I know, but that would be really...
I just listed a load of things that you don't do.
Long hair.
I don't like a director to state the obvious. I like to feel like I can find my own way, but this is all sort of intangible stuff. Intangible, untangible, intangible stuff, because you can't really explain it. But being sort of guided by numbers, I don't like. I like to be trusted, but I also really need good direction in moments where I'm clearly floundering. So that's an impossible.
No, I mean it's good. It's interesting. I'm just actually, but sometimes I remember we were on set and there was a moment. It was a very, very important moment, and we both knew it in the film of London Road. And there's a speech where you were there and giving the speech, and there was, I was going, in this moment, could we get, let's go, that was brilliant, thank you, let's go again. And I wondered this time if we could possibly, and you said stop, why don't you just tell me exactly what you want? Sorry. And I said, okay, louder, on this syllable, can you nearly let it go emotionally, get in control of it on this syllable, and then...
That was great,
then turn it down on the next one. So it's literally on this moment here.
So if we'd started the whole job like that, I would have absolutely hated that. But I knew that, yeah. So that's good. We sort of got the hang of each other.
Yeah, I guess it's the time and place, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was amazed. I was like, I can't literally go and turn the tap on and turn it off.
Because I wasn't getting it, so I needed you to tell me.
And then you did it like 8 times perfectly. I remember talking to you and saying, so, and I was very nervous because I didn't really know you, and saying, so we could do a bit of rehearsal beforehand, and you just went, I was like, oh, okay.
Don't like rehearsing.
Yeah. Which is, and why is that? Just because...
On screen, I don't like rehearsing, because I find often the best bits happen in that rehearsal, or when it's absolutely fresh, we're just reacting and listening to each other for the first time, and it's all just about listening to each other. And so I feel like if you've rehearsed it, you've sort of blown your load a bit. I'd rather find it on camera, because also digital camera, it doesn't cost much to do it again.
But then when you do it again, and again, and again, and again, in my limited experience of working with you in that medium, you keep finding it, you keep doing it. You're amazing. I mean, on London Road, there was not a single shot, a take that we couldn't have used.
Oh, thanks.
Which is that just a different once you've found it in that context, can you hang on to it?
But the fear is that the best one will be in the rehearsal and we weren't recording. So
Yeah.
I'd rather not rehearse. But then, you know, on stage, I would rather have 18 weeks of rehearsal and 1 week in front of an audience. I really want to know that I know it back to front. Otherwise, you know, go. But on screen, yeah, I love being on set.
Talk about the relationship with the audience. How does that affect what you're doing?
The thing is, when you feel like it's working, you know, I said being in the audience watching something great that's live is you can't touch it. It's nothing can come close to that. Feeling like you're absolutely watching it happening, and you do have the same feeling this side. So when you feel like it's working, and you sort of forget that it's performance, forget what you're doing, and you feel like everyone's with you. Oh, the energy that you get from all those people who are listening to what you're doing or laughing, it is the best legal high, I think.
But it's interesting, even while you're talking about it, you're leaning in.
Yeah.
And there is I remember when I went to drama school, there was a thing above the bar that said, eyes on stalks, not bums on seats. I remember on my first day seeing it, thinking, you know, that's the point, isn't it? That you actually,
Yeah.
you know, that line between the actor, the storyteller, and the
Yeah.
audience member is so primal, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's some, I'm not the most experienced theatre actor by any stretch, but I find huge theatres very difficult. You've got to have a different skill there. The Dorfman is so lovely because you feel like you can really just take them with you. But you still, the achievement that the person at the very back there has felt what they should have felt, the same as this person here. It is an exciting feeling to try and give everybody that experience.
And do you think you can feel that when you're in a show? Do you think you know when it's good?
I don't know. Sometimes you go, nailed it. That's the night when it's all self-indulgent and you actually probably did quite a bad show. I don't know. I've loved that feeling when it feels electric. But then you've got to try and let that go because you might be wrong. Start again fresh each time.
Yeah.
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 Not try and recreate that each time.
Yeah, because it's live, isn't it? That's the whole
Yeah.
point.
Whole audiences feel different, don't they? You've got one brave laugher, everyone else feels it's all right to laugh, or they can sort of change a feeling. Or if everyone's silent, so we think, oh, bad audience, but it's not bad audience,
No.
ever.
In a situation like this, where we are now, where if we were in a normal theatre environment, we could look out there and we wouldn't be able to see any faces at all.
Yeah.
Because you've just got lights in your eyes, and if there's side lighting, you can't even see your fellow actor.
Yeah.
Often. And
Yeah.
it looks great on stage, but actually all I'm looking at is a bright light.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at you. So laughter and audible responses are really important. But
Yeah.
for me, because I'm always sat right at the back, if I'm really nervous, I have a thing about counting sometimes, and I will count the seconds between coughs. Because if an audience is there, they don't cough. It doesn't matter if they've all got flu, they just don't cough.
Yeah.
So everybody's completely in that held
Committed.
communication,
Yeah.
committed to each other. I mean, it's why bad theatre is sort of so kind of humiliatingly embarrassing, isn't it? Whether you've got anything to do with it or not, because you go, oh no, I'm present, I'm party to this. Whereas, you know, with a bad film, you can sit back and go, oh, this is silly, and you can still enjoy it.
Yeah. And do you miss having, obviously, I mean, it's a stupid question, do you miss having the building?
Yeah, it's what it's for. It's totally what it's for. Well, there's two aspects actually. Massively miss the audience because that's the you know, the air that kind of that comes in, and that is literally what we're here for. I think Olivier was asked, "What's a national theatre for?" And he said, "To make the audience applaud." That's the, you know. But it's also about the artist, and this has been such a shocker of a time for the freelancers. It's just really strange to not have artists in the centre of, I mean, the Zoom conversations, but even, you know, whatever the communication's going on. So I'm just, gagging for that again, them for sure, but the people that they're coming to see, which is not me. It's not, you know, with the best will in the world, it's none of the people on the payroll. It's the artist.
Have you got anything you've taken from it or that's moving in a positive direction?
Well, I guess the thing that's moving in a positive direction is that we're coming out of it. We've got the first companies in rehearsing and people starting to come back into the building, which is uplifting to, you know, to really start to kind of breathe out. Within the industry, I think there's been a lot more communication, which means that we've got a lot of information, which means that as we start to rebuild, there's no excuse for not trying to deal with some of the stuff that historically has been problematic. I think, you know, Black Lives Matter has been such a massive part of the last 12 months. There's been a lot of work that started inside institutions, including this one, to try and really make sure that this is a proper gear shift in terms of representation and a really much deeper understanding of all that. So that, you know, I think there's the opportunity for positives to come out of it.
And do you think people have missed being able to go to the theatre?
I think people will be really. We've got to make sure we keep them safe.
Yes.
For sure. And obviously none of us want to go back into a lockdown again, but I think there's going to be I think it's going to be a great summer from that point of view. People being allowed back out and to mingle again. People like each other. I think you know, we want to be together.
We should do this again one day without a camera crew.
All our friends.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really lovely talking to you.